All right, so I'm walking around looking at fencing potential spots and trying to solve some problems that exist. Now, one of the problems is I threw up this single hotline fence a couple years back because I was tired of running hot wire down through here at polywire on reels and having to constantly change it around. I figured the fencing along the roadway here, the wood track, mostly going to be the same. Now I do need to up it to 2 wires, at least, probably 3. And it wasn't built for that, but I realized if we're going to run heifers down here, then it needs to be higher. I'm also got some piles of stone and some brambles and brush everywhere that have grown up since I built the fence. I need to take care of those before I can put fencing in. I need to really assess what I'm doing. And I also think I might want to change the style of fence I've been doing a little bit. Now I'm on the perimeter, I'm going for New Zealand 5-wire electric fence, high tensile. I may start to use something called timeless posts. I'm weighing out how much it's going to cost versus using wood and the labor and all the parts and pieces of the insulators that you need when you use wooden posts and perimeter fencing and things. So the perimeter has to be 5-wire. The interior could be 2, maybe 3-wire. Originally, I had left this with options because I thought maybe we would run pigs again through the forest. But the more I think through that, the more I don't want to do that. They tend to damage the ground too much. There's too much maintenance and upkeep. I need to focus by summers on forage production for the cows for the winter, and I need to have them grazing, the cows grazing as much of the farm as possible. Now that the pigs have helped clear areas of the forest, I think that we're done running pigs in the forest. They do too much damage. They're too much maintenance for the two of us running a full-time dairy now. I mean, really, the cows and the cheese are precedent, and pigs, our pork market hasn't been strong. Our pork sales aren't strong. In the past, I love rearing them. I love piglets. Maybe someday we'll consider putting in a pig barn and raising a modified grazing herd. There are still pockets of forest I'd like to improve. The only trouble is until I can get the roadways and the pathways to those sections improved, I can't really consider building fences, even temporary, and putting livestock back there because there's no practical, easy way once they're there to get them water, to get them feed on a twice and check on them, at least twice a day. So that back corner back there where the greenery is ideal. It would be a great place. We could raise a lot of pigs back there over a few years. The property is split by a stream right in there, and you have to go either side of it. This side is all pasture now, all the way to the bridge. That side is unimproved forest, but the road that's there, the logging road or whatever historic road it was, it needs a lot of work, and I don't have the money to improve that right now. Now, maybe when I'm up there clearing that field, I'll feel different about it. I'll free up some stone, and I've got this big pile of stone here that I need to get down to the bridge. Maybe I'll find some smaller stone to do some drainage over there and improve that roadway. But really, until that road is good enough, if I choose to make it good enough to get into that part of the forest, it isn't going to happen. I got to finish the bridge. I got to finish the fencing this year. The road improvement isn't going to happen. So anyway, I've been down here looking at fencing, where I'm going to go. Do I really want to put a permanent fence here along this line where that post is? I'm kind of thinking yes. I made this gateway here. There's a post there on the other side of the stone and a post there. I made this really big because when we were running pigs down here, I'd had a pig corral for loading them into the trailer. Now, part of the problem was it was a little hard snicking the trailer back in here, and it really needed to have a loop driveway. So I left this gateway really wide, imagining there would be this pile of stones spread out here and a pad and then a pig handling system here, maybe even a pig barn. But things changed because now this part of the field is super wet in the winter. So pigs down here, down the slope, all the way down here, really don't make sense because all the water flows downhill and it gets really wet here in the spring. This soil, fortunately, this soil right here in this spot dries out really quickly. And it's good grazing along this track. So, but anyway, we changed our mind, no pigs here. So I need to clear out those rocks. These rocks go down to the bridge. I'm gonna take this gate post here and it's gonna be the far post. I'm gonna put a second one right about here and make a corner, or rather, yeah, I'm just gonna extend that to here. And then I'm gonna put a gate here and make a way for the cows to come in between fields right here. Between these trees. Now, eventually these trees will probably come down, but I don't want to mess with them right now. A couple of cheap posts will be great. And then I can set myself up for fencing out a permanent fence along this baseline where pretty much I've been running it all the way, all along. And that gives us this kind of acre paddock. We call it the pond field. We can leave heifers in it. We can run calves in it. We can keep the beef cows in it, whatever. Put a little shipping container barn up at the head there, maybe. There's some options if that field, or just graze it and that field to be separate. And then this field to be separate. And they can either come through a gateway here or down the track, in and out. This field, I think, will come down pretty much to where I've been dividing it. Well, I might not put any more permanent fences on the way down there. I just have to see how that perimeter fence goes. Now, really, the perimeter fence goes deep in the forest that way and out. And then there's going to be a midline fence that comes and defines the edge of this field down there, kind of by where I wanted to put a pond. I just have to see, because that section is really low and really poorly drained. It needs some drainage. I also have to consider being able to get equipment and machinery in here. So I don't want to have too many fences in my way. But anyway, these are some things that I'm thinking of. I see some limbs that have fallen down there. I see some areas in this very wet field that I need to clear up. So, and I've got to try and roll up this reel, because I didn't roll it up at the end of last year, and get these temporary fence posts out of the way without the cows noticing. Because if the cows see me handling a reel, they will think that I am going to set them out some pasture. Now, I know it's too early. They're not smelling grass. They're not really thinking grazing yet. But if they see me with a reel, it will jump to a few of their minds immediately. So I'm gonna try not to catch their eye and get this done. I do have some piles of some fence posts, steel fence posts and things I need to get out of here. It is looking like I got a couple days of skid steer shuttling stuff around. And I originally was going to use the steel fence posts like along the big long stone wall all along that perimeter that goes quite a ways into the forest. I was going to use those to put the electric fence on, the perimeter fence, because I knew I would be able to get them down in to some degree where I need to put them. Where I wouldn't necessarily be, either where I won't be able to get the tractor or the skid steer and a auger for a post hole digger, or where there'd be just be too many stones. But I'm really thinking now I might just, because I don't like that option, because it takes a lot of expensive specialized plastic insulators on the steel T-posts to keep them from shorting out. And then if a limb falls on it, if a limb falls on it deep down there, it'll short out the whole fence, and it'll take me a while to get there to fix it and figure out that that's the fault. So I'm going to also put some cutoff switches on some of these fences, new fences, so that I can de-energize the sections we're not using in the winter. But then I don't want the fence shorting out on steel T-posts. So I think, again, that's where I might just bite the bullet and invest in some timeless posts. They're PVC. I've been doing some research. They seem like a lot of people are starting to use them. And I just wish the price would come down because they're vicious expensive. But I think a little judicious using them here and there, I might get away with it and might be able to build the fence a little bit faster too, is also my goal, is to, especially the perimeter fence, I need to go as fast as I can. That's been a hang up, is the drilling of post holes. By the time I get the post holes drilled and get some fence posts set and get corners built, that takes a long time, and then all of a sudden I've run out of time to set the midway posts, and then the little springer posts, and then they lean, and then you got to crank the whole thing tight, and it's a fencing, keeping on top of fencing. Like I say, I have to redo the entire tension, everything, check that the braces are all right, reconnect the things I disconnected over the winter. There's probably 2 or 3 days work just on the existing fences to get them going. And there's a little bit of a problem there because I got the heifers up front. They need their fence electrified, but I have to turn it off in order to do the work. So there's going to be a bit of a dance there to make sure they don't escape. The rest of this I can do without whether the fence is on or off, but it needs to be done. Another thing I have to be mindful of timing-wise is that section of the forest there that I want to get the excavator in soon and clear for fencing also needs to be overseeded, as does some patches in here and the area that I was just de-rocking, de-stoning with the excavator. That'll need, a day or two of skid steer work, and then get it prepped to overseed. And all of this brush has grown up over the fall. Briars, rose bushes. I have to come down here with a brush cutter and clear all of this out so that the grass doesn't grow up in it, so the cows can graze it. And I got to clear everything out. I got a pile of firewood here I need to come down and get. That is going to be dependent on how dry it gets. We need a few more dry days than we've had now that we've got standing water on the ground. But yeah, there's more than enough cleanup here to do. I probably won't get it done before grazing, even if I start working every single day that I can going forward. Now tomorrow, I'd love to continue with the excavator, but I think things are gonna be chopped up. And then we've got bad weather coming again. We've got cold weather. We got snow predicted next week, or at least rain. Maybe I can get some brush cutting done in between. I kind of tend to do that for a little bit, an hour here and there every day, or whenever I can, and just kind of chip away at it, as it were. I'd really like to come down and do some more chipping with the tractor and the chipper, but we'll see what happens when I start clearing in there. There's gonna be a lot of chipping and brush and burn generated when I start clearing the dead trees and the trees that need to come down in there, because I'm not gonna graze the cows in there another summer without taking the dead trees out. Wow. It's Saturday the 20th of March, 21st, whatever. It's after the spring equinox. We had solar activity the last few days, high CMEs, coronal mass ejections, and they kind of leave me feeling wiped out. Don't know about you. But we missed the aurora at night because it was cloudy both nights. It rained last night a little bit, and it's raining right now. We've got a private fondue party today. Normally we hold them in the summer house, but thanks to a lot of rain it's kind of tricky getting there, and it's really wet and damp. And I didn't winterize the summer house because it was just so brutal. We weren't going to hold any events in there. So yeah, we're going to have the people come to the have their fondue in the upper part of the barn where we hold the dinners. It's a lot easier for us to do it there. I'm not sure that's their idea of a good time. So we're getting ready for that. We're on top of milking and all the rest of stuff. This private party's been rescheduled 3 times due to weather. We kind of felt like we should reschedule it today because it's going to be, well, it's not going to be particularly cold. It's going to be windy and wet. So we don't, the barn, the problem with the loft of the barn is it isn't heated. We don't have a way of easily heating it. I'm gonna have to plug in a heater, space heater. So yeah, actually rescheduling this party is costing us money. But we're gonna, so we got that going on today. I'm just getting the cows a bale. SmaxTex has given us alert. A couple of cows have low rumination. Particularly Libby is a one to watch for because she just calved a couple days ago. Low rumination could mean she's sliding into milk fever, where she's got a calcium imbalance and the muscle contractions of her rumen slow down. And that leads to further complications. We've given her a calcium bolus. We might have to give her a second one over the weekend. We're just going to monitor her. The fact that Trixie also just flagged with a low rumination alert, and I think somebody else did yesterday. I think it's just a matter of they're ruminating, they're eating. It's for whatever reason the bale that I just finished feeding out wasn't doing it for them, and even though I mixed in some of the higher energy, higher protein, but moldier stuff, it didn't really seem to shift the needle at all for him, and maybe it's what's caused the stomach upset in a couple of cows. But I'm not overly concerned about the low rumination alerts. We may have to adjust the scale because these are jerseys, and the app is targeted for, you know, larger breeds maybe. They suggested that we may be able to fine-tune the ruminations monitoring and see if we can't dial it in a bit better, because I haven't seen where there's, you know, an inappetent cow or a cow with a totally empty rumen for days, which would be bad. So I just keep an eye out. That's, you know, that's one of the things getting used to the new system is learning to interpret and figure out what stuff means. All right, I gotta move the skid steer so I can get this down to the barn, and we'll get back to it. Speaking of SmaxTex, I want to talk about something you may or may not have heard about. It happened a week or so ago, so by the time you see this, it could be several weeks old, the news story. There's a raw milk dairy in California that has having a recall for their cheese because it's got E. coli contamination, and it's actually sickened some people. And this particular dairy has had issues in the past and failed milk tests and lots of problems, but they're denying responsibility and saying this is just a thing that happens and it has nothing to do with their raw milk cheese, and that they use SmaxTex boluses to monitor the cow's health. So how could it possibly be, you know, their milk and bad quality? And right there is the problem. Using technology, whatever it is, collars, boluses, whatever, using technology as an excuse for bad herdsmanship and bad sanitization and cleanliness ain't good. In fact, it's a cop-out. There's many ways that a cow, or rather that milk, can get contaminated after the cow, after it leaves the teat. Improper, you know, procedure, sanitizing teats. Worker could have caused that E. coli. Now they'd have to do a DNA test and trace it back to its origin, but It could be E. coli from a worker who didn't wash their hands, and because it's raw milk, you have to be extra careful. You constantly have to monitor stuff, especially when you make a food product, especially when you make something out of raw milk, which is potentially a contaminant, because if it doesn't come out of the cow perfectly clean, the cow could be perfectly healthy. It might not have mastitis. It shouldn't have mastitis. It shouldn't have a high somatic cell count in the milk. Those are indications of an issue. And you find those things, you start looking, you withhold that milk, you don't feed it out. So yeah, I think it was particularly heinous of this particular dairy to use these SmaxTex bolus and data to say, well, our cows are healthy, so it couldn't have been, this isn't on us, when it's got to be a breakdown in some other process at the dairy. So yep, we're loving the SmaxTex data, loving the boluses. Now I can see why I wish all the cows here had it, the heifers and the calves, which they're not geared for calves, and I don't see how you do that, but just knowing that things are okay without having to go through a lot of procedures. It's like having an extra hand, an extra staff member monitoring the cows all the time. It's really cool. It's Sunday, the 22nd of March, and I am getting ready to... What am I getting ready to do? I'm getting ready to go down in the forest and work. I want to work at the pond today. So I am looking for my camera clamp. I don't know where it is. Huh. Wonder if it's in the excavator. Did I have that last? Huh. All right, well, we will see. Don't know what I did with it. Yeah. So you wonder why some of my footage is weird, why I don't take film of some things. It's because I never have the clamp that I need, I guess. I got one that I permanently keep in the tractor because I have to have it for the phone and GPS stuff, but I have about 5 other different things and I never can find them. I know one's down in the container. My latest grippy thing I can't find, so I'm trying to get you some better footage today of what I'm doing, because I want to clean out the pond, because I want to fence the pond, and I got to take down a couple trees. I don't know if I'll get as far as that today, but if I can get the... where that stuff is. Huh. If I can get the pond clean today, I'll be happy. And that's mainly clean it out good today. I got to get rid of some brush around the outside, make it easier to fence. And as long as I got the excavator right there, I'm going to take care of this today. Pond isn't that full. It's not a priority, but I'd like to get it done. And also, diesel's only going to get more expensive. And, the question is, do you do some of these extra projects? Where the heck? I don't know where that clamp is. Oh, that's going to work. No, once again, I don't have the right part of that. Huh. All right, anyway. Don't know where it is. Shit. Diesel's only going to get more expensive, and cleaning of the pond, is that a priority? Well, $25 for a tank full of diesel for the excavator, well worth clearing out the pond. I mean, any of the things I have to do have to happen, whether diesel's $5 a gallon or $3 a gallon or whatever. I think I just filled up that tank. It had some diesel in it. It cost $800. That was punishing. And it made more punishing by the fact that the pump isn't working, and I still have to problem solve that. But I just wanted to get diesel in it before the price got worse, before there were any shortages. But anyway, I'm gonna burn some diesel today, clean the pond, pull out some things, push some trees over. Gotta do it. Gotta do what I can. I gotta keep moving forward to make this place more productive. Aurora's back in the field with the other heifers. Fence is hot. She fortunately just walked up here. That was nice. They seem to be getting along, and hopefully they stay put. Well, I was going to work with the excavator and clean out the pond today, but it's snowing kind of hard. I think I'll have a little bit of visibility issues trying to see. It's saying that there is no windows in the excavator, and it's kind of breezy and cold. And Sunday afternoon, I think I'll just stay inside today. Monday, 23rd March. Just taking milk samples up. We sample the fresh cows. In this case, we waited till all 4 were fresh. Actually, we sent nettles out, but anyway, we sample the cows before they can go in the bulk tank each quarter. Make sure it's clean, no mastitis or anything. So that was Lottie, Lana, Libby, and Nettle all sampled. It's Monday today, it'll take till the end of the week before we find out if they have anything, if their milk is clean, when we can just put them in the tank instead of feeding it to the pigs. But this way it makes sure that, the colostrum's out of it, any kind of inflammation from the udder swelling and kind of traumatic response or high cell count due to that is out of her system. We feed it to the calves and the pigs until then. And as soon as it can go in the tank, it can become cheese. Another fabulous frostbite fall summer day here. It is bone-chillingly cold, hovering right around the freezing mark. Looks like we got this slop for a few days. I have not gotten to work at the pond like I wanted to. I might try today, I don't know. I don't know if I can get the excavator started on a day like today when it's damp and wet, cold. Yeah, certainly my impulse is to stick inside and do paperwork and research and put together fencing supply lists and things, because it's just grim out. It's just cold and damp and grim, and I don't want to. No leaks allowed. Packing with the Progressive Dairy magazine, sending our dairy samples in. How progressive. Bail. Oh, this must be the forage special.
Progressive forage, actually.
Yeah. They don't have balers in the dairy issue. Well, in most parts of the world, dairy samples are picked up. We have to send ours by mail. Now, our regular monthly testing by the state is picked up. In fact, the dairy inspector was here this morning. But for other milk samples, milk quality samples, things like that, we have to mail them into the lab. And thanks to a new change in procedure with the lab, we have to send them overnight. So part of my job this morning for dairy testing is to go drop this off at the UPS pickup point on what are probably marginally plowed roads. Oh, so fun. Back from dropping off the package. and screwed a new squeegee head onto a new pole because we need a new parlor squeegee, and I'm going to see if I can repair the old squeegee to now become a barn scraper. So the handles, you can't get good wood handles anymore. They just bust. And down in the parlor where the cows can knock into them, they break even faster. So, good use of my time today is doing some little repairs and things in between other stuff. All right, so there's the new squeegee, which I will need later. And let's take the old squeegee up and see if I can put a new head on it. Or rather, a new pole. Yeah. This one could definitely use a wash. I just pulled this out of my boot. Well, I put in some new felt boot liners. Maybe that's why my feet smell at the end of the day. Well, it's the afternoon on Monday, the 23rd of March, and I'm about to do evening milking. We're modified what we're doing this time around this year. Maybe we're going to try it. We're milking at 7 in the morning, which we have tried to do. In the winter, we let it slide a little bit. A lot of times due to the weather and having to clear the driveway. But we're going to try and milk, certainly for the summer, at 7 and then at 4. And it's about 4:30 right now. I'm obviously not milking yet, but something set Allison back so the bulk tank isn't ready and sanitized yet. So I've got 15 minutes. I mean, by the time I milk a couple sets of cows, the bulk tank will be clean. So we're going to give this a shot. And the idea is that it's a little different than the 7 and 7 milking routine, which we've tried to adhere to for the last 10 years and has been part of my life almost all my dairy career. You milk either at 7 and 7 or some level of 5:30 and 5:30. Some 12-hour apart thing. This 16 and 8 seems to be a popular thing catching on in Ireland, and we're going to give it a shot because it gives us some opportunity to have an evening, to have a nightlife, or whatever we choose. If currently it's taken us a shit ton of time to milk, and we're not milking all the cows yet, because the two heifers haven't calved in. As soon as they calve, then we'll be milking 11 cows. Right now we're milking 9. And it takes a couple hours because we're milking them 2 at a time. We have to send them back out the way they came for a moment. Once it warms up, once this blessed snow would go away, we can send them out and around. So they'll come in one door and go out the door and go around and out to the pasture, or out behind. Or I've still got to figure a way of getting the milked cows back into the barn to eat hay without having to fend off, because we used to do that. We used to send them out that gate there, and they go around behind until that area behind outside here just got swampy all winter. This year it did because it was bitch ass cold, but in an average winter we've had, the ground outside the parlor here hasn't been freezing. So sending the cows out that way, they were just going to be walking through mud, which is also why I haven't sent them out of the barn in the last couple days, because we've had 2 inches of rain, and then we had a bunch of snow, and then we had more snow, and we had the snow today, and melt. So the snow, and then it melted, and then it snowed and melted, and the ground is soupy out in the field. So if I were to send the cows out there today, they would come back plastered in mud, at least, and with also the caveat that they could be sliding around on the snow and the ice and stuff that's out there. So I desperately need to clean the barn, and the snow has not done me any favors because yesterday, Sunday, it started snowing, and it was snowed so hard at one point that you couldn't see. I was going to try and use the excavator to take down a couple trees. That would have generated the limbs for me to chip today, and I could have chipped bedding for the barn, but I didn't do it. I didn't do my work yesterday, and I didn't do any work today because it was cold, wet, miserable, and snowing, and I had a bunch of errands and other stuff to tackle. Same thing yesterday. I had a bunch of other stuff to tackle. So I didn't get any chipping done, and that's not good because the area between the end of the parlor here and the beginning of the barn that's uncovered, it gets quite swampy. And because I haven't been able to get the cows out of the barn to get the skid steer in to clean that area out, and I got the handling system outside, so I can't even, I don't know how I could do that. I get the excavator in and ladle it out. They have to walk through that slop to get into the parlor. And inevitably they get it on their udders. It's not ideal. So tomorrow I have to chip. That is imperative. All right, I am going to let the first cows in and get this milking show on the road. I'm milking by myself because Allison, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday are cheese making days. Thursday is a delivery day. I milk those days most of the time because Allison has to start early, and in the evenings she's finishing. She's making butter, so she separated cream today. So she's gonna wash the bulk tank. She's got to finish cleaning up all her process. So I'll be milking tonight. Milking now that we're milking in the evenings, I'll take more evening milkings so that she can have a little bit more of a stress-free cheese make session. So it's also going to be imperative as summer goes on that we streamline the milking process, like sending them out and around, once the cows are out on pasture, they come in pristine generally. So they move through faster. There's less cleaning of the parlor. It's actually it does go faster in the summer than the winter. So with our setup anyway. So, and yeah, the one hold up to milking by myself is I got to carry the buckets up and then come down and let the cows in. So there's a bit of a break in between sets of cows, whereas if there's two of us, it's a little bit faster. Let's get this show on the road.